Hey guys, it's been a little bit since I did one of these videos. This is, we're not doing Kit Kats, we're not doing drinks. It is having to do with history. So today in history, Congress sets January 7th, 1789 as the date by which the states are required to choose electors for the country's first ever presidential election. A month later, on February 4th, George Washington was elected president by state electors and sworn into office on April 30th, 1789. As it did in 1789, the United States still uses the Electoral College system established by the U.S. Constitution, which today gives all American citizens over the age of 18 the right to vote for electors who in turn vote for the president. The president and vice president are the only elected federal officials chosen by the Electoral College instead of the direct popular vote. So what we're talking about here is usually in any other election, what you would have is the person with the most votes wins. Presidential elections run a little bit different. Part of this has to do, this was part of the compromise, state rights versus federal rights. So you got to keep that in the back of your mind. Today, political parties usually nominate their slate of electors at their state conventions or by a vote of the party's central state committee, with party loyalists often being picked for the job. Members of the U.S. Congress, though, cannot be electors. Each state is allowed to choose as many electors as it has senators and representatives. Remember, every state has 2 senators, right? 50 states, 100 senators. Representatives is based off of population. We do that every 10 years with the census. All right, so during the presidential election on Election Day, the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November, the electors for the party that gets the most popular votes are elected in a winner-take-all system, with the exceptions of Maine and Nebraska, which have allocated electors proportionally. In order to win the presidency, a candidate needs a majority of 270 electoral votes out of a possible 538. On the first Monday after the second Wednesday in December of a presidential election, each state's electors must meet in their state capital and simultaneously cast their ballots nationwide. This is largely ceremonial because electors nearly always vote with their party. Presidential elections are essentially decided on election day. Although, this is something I keep in mind, electors aren't constitutionally mandated to vote for the winner of the popular vote in their state. It is demanded by tradition and required by law in 26 states and the District of Columbia. In some states, violating this rule is punishable by a $1,000 fine. Historically, over 99% of all electors have had their ballots cast in line with the votes. On January 6th, a formality, the electoral votes are counted by Congress. We talked, that happened yesterday. We'll talk about that real quick before Congress. And on January 20th, the commander-in-chief is sworn into office. Critics of the Electoral College argue that the winner-take-all system makes it possible for a candidate to be elected president, even if he or she, it's been a lot of dudes, but at some point there might be some women thrown in the mix, gets fewer popular votes than his opponent. This has happened in the elections of 1824, 1876, 1888, 2000, and 2016. So for all and I'm not going to make this into a big political thing, and I'm not going to shit on Trump too much, I don't think. But for all of Trump's bluster, yes, he beat Hillary Clinton Electoral College, not popular vote. As a matter of fact, Hillary Clinton got 3 million more votes than Trump, but Trump still became president. In this go around, you had Biden pick up the Electoral College and the popular vote. And folks, not for nothing, after 60 lawsuits, they couldn't prove a damn thing. I think it's time to move on. But I digress. However, supporters contend that if the Electoral College was done away with, heavily populated states such as California and Texas, respectively. California has the largest state population. Texas has the second largest. As a matter of fact, California's population is so big, and because of the size of the state, the physical size of the state, the population, and the different demographics, there was a brief conversation a couple of years ago about splitting California into thirds. You would have Northern California, California proper, and Southern California all as separate states. heard the same argument. Well, if you're going to do that with California, you got to do that with Texas, because Texas also large landmass, large population. So those states might decide every election, and issues important to voters in smaller states would be ignored. Myself and a good friend of mine, the guy who taught me how to be a teacher, my buddy Mike, we've had this debate on and off again about the merits of these systems. The reason why we have the electoral colleges, what some people forget, is that America is not a true democracy. It's a democratic republic. So because we elect people on our behalf, this is the system that we have in place as a system of checks and balances. And there's always this argument, small states versus large states. I watched the video recently that last argument about big states dominating the political spectrum. Well, a candidate would only have to go to New York, Florida, California, and Texas. It kind of loses water because right now, because we only have a two-party system, it gets interesting. There's a lot of nuts and bolts, but I'm not here to discuss that at this time. What happened yesterday? As a history teacher, that's completely new to me. I had to call a couple people to ask about a historical reference. Now, folks, I'm not, I'm a pretty face, but I'm not naive. I realize we have had riots, rebellions. We're no stranger to chaos. But to have the Capitol building be assaulted like that, that's a new one. The last time that building came under attack was 1814. That was part of the drama of the War of 1812. As one person pointed out, which I thought was very interesting, if you're on that pro-Trump side, I'm not here, listen, it is what it is. I think you're a jabroni, but that's not the point. If you're on that pro-Trump side and you're going to say, well, people feel frustrated because they feel that they were cheated and Trump, he didn't lose, he was cheated. First off, look at all the lawsuits that they brought forward. They couldn't prove anything. If you're frustrated, I understand that. But put this in a historical context. And this is what this person, I believe it was a correspondent on CNN. He said, if you're frustrated, that's fine. But acting out in violence, let me ask you this. During the civil rights movement, did people storm the Capitol building? Did they break windows on the Capitol building? So the argument that you were frustrated, it's really neither here nor there. Words like rioters, looters, sedition was used. We don't use that word a lot in our vocabulary. Traitors were used, and now some politicians like Ted Cruz are getting kind of the ears boxed in because they've encouraged this nonsense of these conspiracy theories of being cheated and bro, you've had 60 lawsuits. You went 1 in 59. Even the Supreme Court, dude, 3 of the judges on the Supreme Court, which were handpicked by Trump to be in his back pocket, they said, bro, we can't help you here. He's still eligible to run in 2024. We'll see what happens. We never know. But this process, it was supposed to be another day at the office, and it turned out to be chaotic. One of the people that was there, this is the part that now I'm going to get personal. The thing that I found really, really scary about this was one dude was in there with zip tie cuffs, riot cuffs. He wasn't a cop. So now you got to ask, well, what were you going to do with those? There was one dude in there there were 2 Holocaust deniers that were running around like a bunch of jackasses. And then there was a dude with a Camp Auschwitz shirt. For those who don't know, Auschwitz was a death camp for the Nazis. We're not talking about regular American politics at this point. I don't know how to end this. It's a really weird thing, and it's not that I'm getting emotional or anything. It's that it's frightening to think about that. A party that for 4 years was saying that they're the law and order gang, that they're the law and order party, law and order, that they would blatantly break the law because their guy lost. That's an odd stand. You can't really die on that hill. The cult of personality. Like, think about this. I just want you to really understand this. The cult of personality. I'm too pretty to go to jail based on my own greed or stupidity. But there are people. There were 54 arrests. Now, some people say there should be more. They might even do, if keep this in the back of your mind, Trump could even pardon those people. Okay, we can get a little freaky with this. But 54 people are going to catch a charge for a failed reality television star, real estate hustler who managed to become president. That is bizarre. And I'm going to leave it at that because I want to use some bad words and I'm trying to not use those words. So check back later on. We'll have some more videos for you. And look, if you're new to the channel, please like, subscribe, drop me some comments. We'll get a conversation going. Where do you think I'm right? Whether you think I'm wrong, it's cool. What I read before, that was off the History Channel website. So that's, I don't want to say pretty solid. It is pretty solid. Although over the years, they've gotten really into aliens. Weird.